All right, y'all. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Related Podcast. It has been a while, and many of you guys have asked about it. So we're going to be more consistent going forward. I know it's a broken record that we say, but as adults and people with children that I have none, always have things pop up. Super understandable. But you will see that we have another guest. No, Ray is not completely black right now. This is Wes back again for another episode with your boy. So Wes is going to be on here however many times he wants to be on here. So welcome back, man.
Thanks a lot, Brian. Thanks a lot. Good to be back. I know related with the fellows. So lots to catch up on over the last 3-4 months now. So.
Yeah, it's been a while. So full disclosure here. So I've been going back and forth with Wes about being on the podcast, because otherwise it's going to be me by myself most times, because Ray's pretty busy these days. So over the week I was like, yeah, we're going to do it on Sunday. We'll do it at noon, and my dumbass thought it was a 3-hour difference. So I was like, yeah, noon, like 9 year time. So because Wes is out west, he's out in LA or California somewhere. So then I was like, all right. So he messages me this morning. He's like, I'm a few minutes late, and I'm looking at the time like, boy, it's not even 12 yet. I was like, wait, it's a 2-hour difference? He was like, yeah. I was like, oh, all right, I'm on my way down right now. So here we are. Apparently I need to study my US time zones again.
It's all good. I forget too with all the travel. Trust me, you get lost up in the time zones. You getting in and out of airports. It's like, well, where am I at right now? So
you've been going a lot of places, right? Do you go like South America stuff too?
Yeah, for a while I was doing that the first year. So transitioning out to the West Coast, really didn't stabilize myself in the West Coast for a while, man. I was as soon as I landed, they had me going to Central and South America a lot, like almost every 5 to 6 weeks. So it was one of those things. For the first 18 months, it was just always in a suitcase. So
man,
good to be settling down a little bit and just finally get my foundation in one area for a while now. So thank you.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. I don't like mind traveling, but as a bigger dude, this shit is a hassle. Like, I mean, first thing I do, and I try to do it discreetly, and people are cool with it too. Like, I walk in, you bigger people understand this mission. Like, I'm gonna give you some tips as a frequent flyer, bigger guy. Do not wait to ask for a seatbelt extension until you sit down. Do that as you're walking onto the plane. So as soon as I'm walking in, first person I see, I'll be like, let me get an extension. Like, sure thing. They grab it and hand it to you. Then it's not super weird with 80 people looking at you.
Yep.
Second, if you can, try to sit by the window. That way you don't have to get up. Everyone can do whatever they need to do, and you can kind of squish yourself into that little corner and hopefully make it okay.
You ain't lying, trust me. We're both big dudes, and let me tell you right now, flying on Avianca, and some of you may remember Avianca from a TV show called Narcos, notoriously known as the Colombian airline from Mr. Escobar's exploits. Yeah. So Avianca is definitely a tight fit, and it is not comfortable. Thankfully, my company sends me business class, which is now gone, just so you know.
Oh,
the business class route of my place. So now it's like, let me squish in, and yes, that extension gets requested quite often. And because my Spanish is not good, well, not terrible, just not where it should be, I just have to show them this. So
yeah. Let me get an extender. So that's actually because I've gained weight, lost weight, like a lot. I've been fat since I was like 12. I've talked about this on a podcast for a long time anyways, but like, so I've gained a lot of weight. I've lost a lot of weight. I usually hover where I'm at now. Because I'll lose some, hit a mental roadblock, and then we're back at it again, unfortunately. But that's how I would gauge real weight loss. If I got on the plane and didn't need the extender, I was like, all right, I put a dent into this shit. And then, we kind of went from there. But I'm actually on some new stuff now. I won't say new stuff. So the most difficult thing for me is totally mental, so no excuses but my own, was I hate reheating food. Like, after like 2 days, I'm not a big leftover fan. That makes it extremely difficult to like meal prep or whatever. So I had to get over that. My bum knee pushed me to it. So we found this place here in Milwaukee. It's called like Freshly Chef MKE or something like that. Super local place. Won some awards, but one of my coworkers uses it, and she's like super fit. She uses it because she just doesn't want to cook, right? Like I'm just gonna meal prep and they'll do it for you. So I was like, whatever. But it's a cool site. Like, and this is a total plug. If you guys are in southeastern Wisconsin, you should definitely check it out. But they'll send you a menu like on Thursday for the Sunday for the next following week. And it'll be broken down like here's what's going to be available, but it gives you all the macros. So calories, proteins, fats, everything you need. And the food's already cooked. So you order what you need, comes in a little tray, you throw it in the microwave and you eat it. It's been so helpful. So we buy like 20 of these every week. They get delivered Monday afternoon. So 10 for me, 10 for Saida for the 5 days in a row. And I have yet to eat something there that doesn't taste good. So like it's been super helpful tracking everything. I'm almost close to like 30 pounds down already. I lose weight really fast at the beginning. Like the first 60 pounds is like in a blink of an eye. And then when it becomes a pound a week, it gets really hard for me mentally. But with this plan, I feel like because I don't have to think about it, everything's already ready. The food's good. Like it's just been super easy to keep going. So that's super good. And more importantly, my knee doesn't hurt as consistently as it was hurting before. So that's what I've been doing here the last 6 to 8 weeks.
That's awesome, my man. Thank you. I'm glad to hear it too. Glad to hear it. So that's a step in the right direction. Something similar about March of 23. I started on an app called Noom. So some of you may have heard of it.
Yeah.
But it's mostly just counting. So for the most part, my weight loss is close to about 15 over the last 2.5 months, 2.5 to 3 months, 15 pounds, and that's just mostly just all been diet and not even working out. So
yeah, I don't work out either.
Just chicken breast, almost low carb wrap, pretty much low carb wraps, and then just lots of veggies and fruits. And one of the best parts about being in the West Coast is having that quick access to fresh tropical fruits in the grocery stores, you know, so, and it's already, sometimes it's cut up, sometimes it's not, but you know what, it's just more readily access and it's at a cheaper price. So can't argue about the produce. So trying to incorporate that. So that's sort of the thing, but yeah. And then, try to get out to do, for a while, I was averaging about 4 miles, 3.5 to 4 miles a day walking for a while. So I did that for almost like a month. And that's where I started dropping like a huge dent. So yeah, to your point though, it starts with the diet and then you can build on that. So man, congrats to you.
Thanks, man. Yeah. So for me, I've always like me and Danny did. So you guys know Diamond Dallas Page, the wrestler, DDP.
Mm-hmm.
So he has this yoga thing. So when I met Danny, about a year and a half in, I was probably smaller than I am now, but I was trying to lose weight at that point too. And I saw DDP on like this Yahoo article. Somebody was like, this new yoga thing, it's not your mama's yoga. Diamond Dallas Page made it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, this seems cool. Let me check it out. So I went on. It was super early in his journey. So I went on the website. I ordered it. It was like $80 or some shit. And it was so early that Dallas was calling anyone that bought one personally. So he called me. I was at In Time Warner. We worked in the basement at that point. So my signal was ass. But he calls me. We have like a 10-minute conversation. The signal drops and I'm like, whatever. And then he called me back. So it was like a super cool thing he was doing. We talked about a lot of stuff, like how did I get fat? Like, you know, if you've been fat your whole life, that's not your fault. You know, it's how your parents were doing stuff for you. Like they should have set limits, yada, yada. And so Danny came on a journey with me and like, dude, because he's like, it shouldn't be painful to work out. And like, so we started doing DDP yoga and yoga's fucking hard, dog. Whoever y'all that do yoga, like props to you, that shit. And it builds strength. Like
it does.
Crazy. So me and Danny did it for a little bit. I lost like 30 pounds. Danny lost probably like 15 or something. And it was fun. Like every other day, every day. Now that it was like a DVD, like it was at the beginning, like this was over 12 years ago. Now it's an app. So like once I get to the wall again, like where I start struggling mentally, because I'm not working out, I'm just eating differently. I'm probably going to subscribe to the app and then try to like work out that way because it's easier on the joints. And right now I'm on a bum knee still. So we'll see if I can build some strength around it.
Got you on that. Yeah, a friend of mine, she got me on doing the morning sun salutation. So
Nice.
going through, so that's yoga. That's also like a beginner course of yoga, just getting you used to the movement, breathing mostly. So once I got on that about 3 years ago, I do that, but that's mostly just focus, clear mind,
Yep.
clear vision. That's what I got to do that. So I do that in the morning. But at one point I was doing about 15 salutations, which is tough. It's actually tough on the joints. And then when I moved out here and then the work hit me, now I'm back to just being happy to get through 5 salutations. I'm just like, all right, heavy breathing, breaking that sweat, but you know what? You got to move through it though. So if I don't get through the 5, then I'll never get to 8, never get to 10, never get to, so got to start doing it though. So
It's
yeah.
just crazy. Like there's always things that people do for whatever reason. It's like in business, right? If you hear a business tell you it's how we've always done it,
Yep.
usually that's not a good thing, right? Like, well, that doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's the best way to do it. It just means we're either lazy about it or because it's working, I don't want to risk to do something else, right? Like, but that doesn't mean it's the best way to do it. It's just the way we've done it. And there's certain things that we do, like I was listening to the radio the other day and this came up. Like somebody's like, well, I don't say, I think it was on Kiss FM Alley or some one of the local people. Well, I don't say bless you. Like I don't say it. And people get super weird, right? So they're like, where the hell did that even come from? I don't know, right? So I had to Google it. Like, where the hell did bless you come from? Do you know where bless you came from?
Yeah, it's supposed to be because like in that moment when you sneeze, like the heart stops, and so people are saying bless you so that your heart, so it's a good blessing that your heart continues to pump again.
So I'm scientifically that's probably a thing, but where it originated was in
Yeah.
Rome during the bubonic plague.
Oh wow.
And the Pope would, when people would sneeze, which was the main symptom for this plague, apparently. Well, it might not be bubonic, but it was a plague. So the Pope would walk around, and if anyone sneezed, he would say, God bless you. And it was a way for them to feel like they're going to make it and not die.
Okay.
So, like, just somebody at some point said one thing, and we do it across time. It's
Yeah.
just
Ripple effect.
insane. But
It's a
I
very
say that because in the program, in the DDP thing, he told me something super weird, like crazy when he was talking to me, and it's like built in. I'm sure all yogis are kind of into the same thing. But apparently, like when you breathe, so like take a deep breath, what happens to your like diaphragm?
expand.
So when
So
most people breathe, they like suck in their stomach. Like, why are you sucking in your stomach
it's
when you
true.
breathe? Like, you're limiting wherever you can store the. It's super strange. Like, apparently, it's not the correct way for you to breathe. So I was like, I never thought about it. Like, why do we do this? Has anyone ever done it? Do you see someone take a deep breath and then all of a sudden that's just the way you do it forever because it's something
Absolutely.
you saw?
Because you bring it into your chest instead of pushing out through your diaphragm,
Right.
and that's exactly how singers actually do it. So I used to just give you a little unknown fact. I used to sing, not professionally, of course. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here now.
Right.
But
We wouldn't be doing this podcast.
but because I was amateur, I was taught in singing lessons. Like that's the first thing they tell you. You breathe out through your diaphragm and not in your chest.
Right.
So that's the fallacy. So your point, absolutely. And then you don't figure it out until you get older. Then you start thinking about these things. You're like, as a child, I was doing things incorrectly. But then
Yeah.
you get older, you realize,
for
okay,
for decades. We're doing it
yeah,
for decades. So didn't mean to become the healthy promoting podcast, but hey man, if we're on a journey, you're more than likely going to hear about it. But we do want to talk some monsters. So Godzilla -1 came out, and I watched it right away day one. I went with Ray, our buddy Diego, which you guys have met if you paid attention to the channel from a while ago, and their kids. So Junie was there, Ray's son, and Diego's daughter Sophie was there too. So the kids weren't a fan of the subtitles, but we didn't know there were subtitles going in. So I told Wes, like, bro, this movie's pretty good. You should check it out. So we're gonna start there.
yeah,
Get Wesley's reaction to the movie because he admitted to me last night that he's not a Godzilla fan. So I want to explore that and then see how he felt about Godzilla -1.
absolutely. So, B, if you hadn't recommended the movie, I don't know that I necessarily would have gone out and watched it first off. But I had to, you know what, do something different, you know, something out of the ordinary. So what? Why not as well go see Godzilla? Getting great reviews. People running out of the theater with smiles on their faces from that, and that's just what I'm seeing all over the place. And there's a lot of people who are getting turned on by it. So to start off, absolutely very slow. And at some points when they're building into the character growth, the character building part, in those first 15 minutes, that in that first act, I got to tell you, man, I wasn't feeling it. It wasn't hitting me. But what did was the connection that he had with his girlfriend.
Yep.
And the girl that she ends up is caring for. And so that human connection right there is the one that really brings you in, because we've already seen Godzilla before. And my preconceptions of Godzilla have always been, Godzilla shows up, you have absolutely no character connection, and it's just things are being destroyed. The American version just don't know how to do that connection. They don't really understand Godzilla. They care more about the VFX version of Godzilla than they do about Godzilla. And one of the things I'm going to tell people right now, if you haven't seen it, it's going to get spoiled for you.
Yeah,
but
we're going to spoil it.
They give Godzilla his traditional movement and everything else that holds true to the Japanese value of what they've done already.
Because Godzilla's theirs. Make no mistake. Like kaijus and Godzilla, that is a part of their culture, from as far as telling stories to developing this character who's become a multi-billion-dollar asset for Hollywood. Like, however they depict it, it's the correct way. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's their character. They put it on the screen.
It was wild. So, I mean, just that alone. So, first 15 minutes, not sure. Somewhere in those next 30, though, I got hooked. And I was captivated by the storyline, brought me in, but more so because it's a period piece. They chose not to try to throw it into current day. The period piece ties into, I'm an American, but let me think about if I was a Japanese. What are my feelings and how am I relating to what was going on in Japan at the time? They picked the perfect period. Reconstruction in Japan, post-World War II, and all of these other things that are going on in all these remote islands, utilizing that depth of history, they brought it all focused back together to give you a great Godzilla story and keeping true to the animatronics of Godzilla and that motion. And then building, just advanced storytelling that I've not seen in a long time from a traditional movie. And this is a traditional movie with advanced storytelling. So they did a great job with it. And I look forward to their next production.
It was crazy. I'm going to look up the budget because I read it, but I don't want to mistalk. But it was nothing. like it was literally, the budget was like a box of cornflakes with the way that we're paying for shit right now.
And they talked about that $200 million budget from the last American one with nothing against Millie Bobby Brown, but that was a little bit, they overpaid, they overproduced and got no return on investment for that. So in this, they did the right investment and right production investment, and they're going to get lots of returns, especially in the United States.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'll start with how he looked. Like, he looked awesome. So as we're watching it, like, Godzilla looked like something that's been at the bottom of the ocean or has been hit by other things. Like, he's scarred and he has like visible issues with being a predator who stalks other things. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's super interesting. But one thing Ray and I were talking about mid-movie, because it turned him off immediately, was when we first see him on the island, he was little. Like, he was barely as tall as the lookout tower, which wasn't that tall at all because it's made out of wood, and Ray's like, bro, he's too little. And I'm like, we're meeting him for the first time, right? So like, he'll probably grow. Like, that's just a part of it. And he was like, well, we'll see. And then eventually he does become this monster thing, but they need radiation to grow. So like, the military's testing bombs on him and, whatever. So like, as he's fighting, he's getting bigger. So that was cool to see that too. But you're very right. Like, the movie is monster movies, big budget movies, hell, even Marvel movies, although Marvel does a better job than some of the other superhero stuff. Sure. Like, it's not about the people. Like, it's about the action sequences and the CGI and like Marvel tries to do an overarching story, but it really falls flat a lot of times. This movie is a Godzilla movie, but it is about the people. Like, it's about the relationships that they build. And you touched on something super important, being a period piece. It is about how the Japanese people felt after World War II. Not just having lost, but the aftermath of it, with the Americans and the Russians still beefing leading into a Cold War, with how their government lied to them and swore them to secrecy on anything and everything they had ever done, and how that affected communities and how they reacted to things. Like, it is such a deep movie. It's one of the best movies of the year. And I'm sure most of you guys aren't going to go watch it. One, it has subtitles, and that turns a lot of people off. But it's one of those things where, like, it's not a part of our monsters universe that we're in right now, with Godzilla versus Kong and God of the Monsters and Monarch, which we'll talk about in a second. But it's the people that made Godzilla, that's a part of their culture, making a movie about how it affects people. Like, and how during that period, other things, like Godzilla's kind of in the background. Their issue is how they came out of the war and how people are viewed that came back and the things that they lost. Like, it's crazy.
Absolutely. It's a movie about loss. It's a movie about loss and how do we move forward. And at the end of the day, I think Godzilla has always symbolized that for Japan. And I feel like I think this movie finally got me to connect with the understanding the value of what Godzilla has always represented in the filmmakers that always did Godzilla and why they did it. Because now you see it in that period piece. You see it's about always them dealing with the loss and rebuild. It's just That's just what it is. And before, you add in on Mothra and all the other additional kaiju, the thing is that it started with that. And one of the things I picked up on is that Godzilla is frightening in this movie. That first pan down when he's in the plane and you see Godzilla's eye, it is like that first time in 1992 when you saw, or 93 technically, when you saw in Jurassic Park, that T-Rex eye, when it just focuses on you. It's the terror that you feel. And they actually put you right in his shoes. And you could feel his emotion.
Because he's scared, right?
Absolutely. He's frightened to death, and you get it. But you also are frustrated because this character means so much to the advancement of the story. Right. Without him, he doesn't move this needle because there's so many other people connected to him that have pivotal points throughout the movie. You have the scientist who comes up with a plan. You have the mechanics who he meets along the way. You have the woman and the daughter and then his neighbor. These are all, and then his fishing boat companions. Are technically mine detonation companions, but all of them are all circulated around him, and it's about his character growth. And every time that he can't seem to understand how to move forward, one of them is the piece that catches him and moves him to the next phase of his life. And and the daughter played such a big role for him. Huge role, and nobody really see it because you don't see it until you don't catch it until like towards the end, with just how much it mattered to him, and then, ultimately, because Godzilla was frightening, you could understand exactly what that fear meant as you follow his journey, and then how his fear sort of transcended into the people around him. So, they did a great job of just connecting all the elements. I haven't seen a film like this in a while, especially when it comes to either horror, action. That's just, again, it's a staple. It's a canon sort of film, the concept at least. And the thing is, they brought it back to its original premise of how it does well, and then they were able to connect it to a new audience, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's an important piece, right? Because we talked about the time period, we talked about their feelings towards their nation, Godzilla, but the main character, especially in their culture, a culture of the samurai, a culture of honor, right? Like, you have to have honor. Like, this is a kamikaze fighter pilot that abandoned his post and pretended his plane was damaged so he didn't have to do what he was assigned to do. So, like, at the very beginning, you meet a character who is a coward
Yep.
and shows you his cowardice throughout multiple points of the movie. Like, he abandoned the kamikaze mission. He then doesn't fire on Godzilla when he has an opportunity to. Not that it would have did anything, because they still would have all got whopped, but he had a shot to do that. And then over and over again, even when he meets, like when he meets the girl and the daughter, that's the moment, that's that first moment where it changes, right? Because again, we're spoiling a shit ton of stuff, but when she didn't come back to get the baby, he could have left her there, right? Like,
Absolutely.
and that's the first moment where, okay, like he's starting to try to do the right things and regain his honor and kind of go from there. But it's as much as his personal growth as well, and redemption, a redemption story for him, for the country, for everyone involved, right? And then you get to see cool shit like where he's from was bombed by the Allies. So when he comes home, this city is decimated. Like, they're living in the rubble of an aftermath of a war.
It's just, it's just squalor. I mean, they're all in squalor, and their neighbors, the ones that are left. You know, he comes home and he's greeted by somebody who says, like, I lost my children, and
everyone
you could not give your life. You know, that line alone set the whole the benchmark right there of where he now needs to figure out where to go. She gave him that, and he had to figure something there. You know, and one of the things I was thinking about, as you brought up, Brian, was you know, when this guy, he could not get over his fear. That's the whole film was about him having different phases of fear he couldn't get through. Like when he could not put a ring on that woman's finger.
Oh, yeah.
And he, you know, they're at dinner, and my man is like, that's not my wife. Or no, she actually said, we're not married. That's not
we're not married. And his buddies are like, what the hell, dude?
And he's like, well, what you got a daughter? He's like, and my man's like, nah, they ain't my kid.
Yeah, don't call me dad. Don't call me dad.
Don't call me dad. He's like, he told the kid, don't call me dad. You know, and they're looking at him like, man, you got your priorities messed up, my guy. So, you know, when his boys are just laying in on him, and he still couldn't figure out how to do the right thing because he was afraid. You know, he said that he had to make things right before he can make himself a good husband and a good father, right? But at the end of the day, it was still his fear. He still didn't know how to just accept what life was giving him and just be able to just take that and grow with it, you know. But it took him to have to take some losses along the way there, but he finally made it right in the end, you know.
It's crazy. It's crazy because now one thing that's come from like streaming and the globalization, you know, of everything is that we are seeing more of these pieces, right? So like there's more Bollywood films that make our screen. There's more Chinese flicks. Like the day that I want to say, it's not the Wandering Earth. You ever seen Wandering Earth? That movie's fire, bro. And it's a Chinese, it's like a Chinese dystopian movie. I think there's a sequel as well. But basically we messed up the earth. It's dying. You know, the people that are still here are trying to survive and other people are leaving. But it's really good. Like it's again focused on the story. But because we have access to this stuff, I think it's on Netflix if you want to check it out. But because we're focused on this stuff now, we're seeing how other parts of the world make flicks, right? So like Hollywood they're still the undisputed king because it's where we're from, and the budgets are multi-million-dollar budgets. Like Godzilla's budget was $14 million, and we're talking about it as one of the best movies this year. But like there's different good movies. Like Spain makes good series and movies. Like Korea has always done good like shows and soap operas. Like Korean soap operas, if you're into soap operas, is like a whole like cult following of everyone. The best soap operas, they say. So now that we can see all that stuff, Hollywood needs to wake up and make better shit, because I don't have to go see that, right? Like I have options. Netflix is going to spend a gazillion dollars on making and buying content from regardless of where it's from. It doesn't matter where. It could be some dude that had a camera and made a cool movie. Netflix will pay them to distribute it if they feel like people are going to watch it. So we need to let people tell their story. And it's interesting. I think Apple understands that. stories are important. They don't cancel many TV shows, right? Like, and the shows that they have are very story people centric. Like, I know you're watching a couple of them, but a lot of the Apples, I feel like they don't really miss. And I'm bringing up Apple because Monarch is a series within the MonsterVerse, right? The Godzilla, King Kong, King of the Monsters story. But it's about how Monarch was founded. And again, back in the day, like it goes back and forth through time. But when it was founded after the war, and it uses the mythology and the characters that we already know from the movies. But again, people centric. I think we've seen Godzilla in the show through 7 episodes one time. So like it's about how they interact with each other. They've seen other Titans, at least one really cool one that we've never seen before. Okay. But again, it's about loss, like how Godzilla affected San Francisco after G-Day. And how people are like, dude, the city's decimated. No one lives in San Francisco. They live on the outskirts. It's quarantined still, and it's been years. The military is in San Francisco still. They haven't even begun the rebuilding process. And it's about grief. Like, people were lost. This came out of nowhere, but did it come out of nowhere? Right? Like, Monarch knows about this shit, but the general public doesn't. So, again, like, the story, right? Ray's not super into that. He wants to watch Godzilla versus King Kong duke it out all the time, and he thinks he thinks King Kong should win every single time because he has thumbs and he's smarter and a lizard is stupid. But the stories matter. Like, that's what Apple is paying for and counting on. That's gonna grip you. I think it's a cool show. It is slow because like they lost their dad, and their dad is the connection to everything else that's going on. So you kind of got to go through family issues, but that's what we were just talking about. What made -1 good? So why would you not do that?
No, and it's the recipe, right? There's a recipe with all of this, and you said it right there, which was find a way to get the audience to connect to the characters. But yes, loss is probably the most simplest. That's like the 1+1 version of connection, right? It's like the simple equation for it. But you could do that. A series can survive, and like you said, what you're doing is you're introducing the kaiju or the monsters or titans. They become just this ancillary piece of it, not even the main focus, but they become that thing that pushed this to happen, but they're not the focus of it, and that's good because now they're allowing you to get some character depth, some plot depth. Like you said, the story gets told. And from perspective. So one of the things I got to ask, because I haven't started Monarch yet, is how many different perspectives are you getting this story told from? Because I know there's a collection of characters.
So. Yeah. So you have, there's actually another cool thing I'll mention it here in a second. So it's after, I think, Vietnam, one of the wars we're involved in, and Monarch gets started. So you have the view of the 3 founders of Monarch, directly after the war, following radiation and trying to get money to be able to study this, and then the government giving them a blank check basically to do whatever they want to study it. Then you have the daughter, which they're only separate views through 2 episodes. So basically, I'm a Monarch employee. I have a wife in California with a daughter. I fly frequently, so I have a whole nother family, a wife and a son in Tokyo. Then I die. So the daughter is trying to collect his things, ends up at the son's house. They figure out it's my brother, my dad's an asshole, blah, blah, blah. And then those stories become one. So the son and the daughter are together trying to figure out what happened to their dad, who was either dead or missing. So it goes back and forth between, and then the people that founded Monarch are their great grandparents. So like it's their grandma or some shit.
Okay.
So it's not too bad. It does. So it goes there. So from post Pop's death to Foundation, and then it goes back and forth to G-Day, because so they reuse the footage. They don't even have to film Godzilla again. So they reuse the footage of when Godzilla walks through the Golden State Bridge, and then they placed her on the bridge. I'm not gonna tell you what's around her because it's pretty impactful. But she's on the bridge and he's like walking past her, and it traumatizes her, as it should, right? She almost died. But so that it goes through those three moments. And then Kurt Russell is one of the founders, and we don't know how he's still alive, considering it's a gazillion years ago that it was founded. He would have been like 90 years old at this point. But his son plays himself in the past.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's a really cool, like, they look just like each other. So his son
dude.
is playing the character in the past at the foundation, and then Kurt Russell's playing the older version of him in the future. And it works. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I saw that Wyatt Russell was in this, so I wasn't sure exactly how Wyatt was being used, but actually that's a pretty strategic way to strategic way to use
yeah,
it.
no, it's pretty good.
So, one of the things before we go any further into Monarch, because I want to ask this question about that too, about Godzilla. One thing I will tell you was the VFX rendering at times with the people to Godzilla in the background was not always smooth, but then there are times when you see it come into focus that you're like, all right, now that looks fire.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you picked up on it, but like when they're filming in the city, when they're filming, and I want it in Ginza, when they're in Ginza and they have the film crew on the top of the rooftop, and you see Godzilla, you can see there's a bit of a contrast where you can pick up the difference there. But that happens on occasion. I think in the beginning it also happened the first when he shows up on the island. But so my question to you is, in Monarch, how well are they doing with pulling off the VFX with some of these things that are happening with some of these characters? Is it well produced, or is it
it's movie quality? It's movie
Okay.
quality. Like, it feels like the Godzilla movies, like the MonsterVerse movies.
Yeah, I had to ask.
It looks good.
The Marvel stuff, so
there's
the
this.
Marvel stuff is not good.
They discover a new Titan who like breathes, like he has like freeze breath, so he can freeze shit, and then fire actually fuels him. So it's like this perfect, like, how the hell do you kill it when fire gives it energy and he can freeze you?
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's a cool Titan, and there's like 2 episodes where they're like trying to fight it and shit, and he looks really, really good.
I'll have to, I'm gonna clean up my dossier of things that are on my list right now that I gotta watch. So I'm still gonna finish up Blue Eye Samurai, then a transition to Monarch.
So good. If you guys ain't watching Blue Eye Samurai, you need to watch it. It's amazing.
So yeah, thank you for the recommendation. That right there alone has got me locked in for the last few days. So it took me a while to clear up my schedule for that, but then I was ready I had to sit down. Once I started watching, I started about a week ago and realized I was like, no, I need to be in a clear space right now. So I had to clear some things off my plate that I was working on my free time, and then I got through that. So, but no, it was good. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked with Blue Eye Samurai. Gonna watch Monarch. So everything you've thrown at me so far is working. The one thing I haven't been able to get deep into has been Foundation, or not Foundation, but what's the other Apple show, the Apple TV show where they're on a
For All Mankind.
Silo.
Oh, Silo.
Silo. I haven't been able to get any further into Silo yet, so that's also on my backlog of things. So I'll get caught up through Silo. But yeah,
I was super excited with Silo. I ended up buying the whole series of the books or whatever, and I started reading it, and then I put it aside and haven't gone back to it. And my wife's a super reader. Like, we have a room dedicated to books and Legos, and she has a Kindle, and she reads every single day. And she's a slow reader though, so I be making fun of her, and she's like, "Bro, at least I finish books. Like, you'll start a book and just kind of leave it on the table." I'm like, "You're right. I can't keep going. You're right. I do." So I gotta finish it though. My cousin Juan, because we were on it together, and he did the same thing. He bought them and he finished them in like a month and a half. He was like, "Dude, it's so good. I can't wait for the show to keep going." So that's pretty good. Pretty good. I'm excited it's going, but Silo was one of the biggest launches this year. Like, everyone was talking about it. Like, if you had Apple TV, you watched it. If you didn't, I tried to convince you to get it. So
that was one of the reasons why I signed up for Apple TV. I finally bit the bullet about like 5 months ago. I was like, okay. It's finally time to just be an adult and just pay for this $10 a month service at the time. So I'm not gonna complain anymore. So it's fine.
So I mean, we're an Apple house. So my wife, I used to have Samsungs before. My wife got tired of the green bubble. So she's like, "Just get an iPhone, dude. You don't even do nothing on your phone but go on social media," which is true. Like, I don't game on my phone. I do all that stuff on other stuff. So I made the switch a while ago. But she's in. So like we do the big bundle. So you get music, you get the Apple TV with like news and some other shit.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
everything here, if it was up to her, would be Apple for simplicity, like the interconnectedness, but I'm not all the way in there.
I
So
don't blame
speaking of
you.
Netflix and spending a shit ton of money, Rebel Moon is around the corner, and this thing looks nuts.
2 weeks away. Really, 2 weeks away. Technically
Nuts.
less than that.
So if you're not aware, Zack Snyder, after being cut out of the DCU, basically, after the tragic issues of his daughter,
Yeah.
he had to take a break. It definitely impacted the DCU overall, his personal life, as it should have, understandable. So now he made a deal, basically sold his soul, or Netflix sold their soul or part of their company to Zack Snyder, as you guys are going to hear here shortly. But there is a connection there. So basically, he wanted to do a Star Wars movie, but Disney wasn't really wanting to go that far because it wasn't going to have Jedi's, right? Like it was kind of what Disney's doing right now on Disney Plus. Like no Jedi stuff, really, just stories within the Star Wars universe. Anyways, they couldn't agree on the deal. So he went to Netflix and did Army of the Dead. Did you watch Army of the Dead? That
I
was like
did
his
watch.
first movie, which was pretty cool. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, it was a nice change up to the zombie thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Perfect.
that was cool. So then that sparked the relationship. And now basically Zack Snyder made a big budget Star Wars movie without being Star Wars, which is called Rebel Moon. So I think everyone's gonna dig it. It looks incredible, but that's coming. Super excited. Part one's called A Child of Fire.
Yeah. So with that, right? Zack Snyder deciding to go deeply into sci-fi. Trust me, that threw me way off my game. I was like, okay, where's this guy coming from? And what's driving him to get into sci-fi? But everything I've seen and everything I've read about Rebel Moon right now, this is going to be bananas. Let me just tell you right now. Just the visuals alone have already got me just locked in, and that was 5 months ago from those first images. I was like, all right, December can't come fast enough. I was like, we need to get this thing rolling.
It looks so good, dude. It does. It has a Star Wars influence. If you watch the trailer, like you could, if they didn't tell you it was called Rebel Moon, you could be like, this is another Star Wars movie.
Absolutely. Only thing I will tell you differently is just the characters look slightly darker and a little bit more.
And that's probably why Disney didn't bite. Like we have a theme park to do here, buddy. We can't, be having too much darkness.
Yeah, and I'm sure they didn't like the Darth Maul. I mean, Darth Maul touches on like every part of like darkness that you can get to, and I think that was about as dark as they're going. And Zack Snyder likes to give you the rawest, most adulted version of like not violence, but action that you can get in a film. He's not afraid to go there with you. But yeah, I think the storytelling that Zack Snyder's done has never been anything less than phenomenal so far. When you let him tell his stories, he does it very well.
Don't edit it out. Like, dude, I'm telling you guys, me and Ray talked about this ad nauseum in the past, but if you haven't seen the extended version of Batman versus Superman and the Justice League, go watch it. And this is a great transition. I didn't even plan on saying this. I love it when that happens. But the reality, dude, first off, the Justice League one's like 3.5 hours long. So if you're like, I don't know if you want to sit that long, but it's just an infinitely better movie. Like, I don't understand how we made the decision to release what they released instead of this. But anyways, that came out, right? The fans demanded it came out. You should watch it because it's amazing. So Snyder sold whatever he had to sell on Netflix. They're all in. We got Army of the Dead. Well, we have Rebel Moon, which is a 2-parter. We get part 1 December 22nd. Part 2 is going to be middle of January, I think it is.
Yep. Sounds all right.
But now the folks at Netflix, and Wes was like, I've been hearing ramblings, but no one's really talked. But the main Netflix dude is out loud said, we are trying to basically gain the rights to continue the DC Snyderverse at Netflix. And if Warner Brothers is smart, I'm letting them do it because we've already established a multiverse and both on both of them. So why not capitalize that, sell those rights for the Snyderverse, and in the future, if you wanted to, you could bring all that shit back. But can you imagine, dude, if he had the opportunity to finish the story? Dude, first off, the budget's gonna be insane. Like if they're able to pull it off, but I feel like we're going in the right direction after the extended versions or director's cuts, and then we just, blew it all up. But Netflix ain't playing no games, dude. They're all in on Zack Snyder right now.
Well, you know what, and to your point, they pretty much they've got the net worth to do this with very little concern of overspending and less return on budget, right? Because Netflix has only done, I think, 2, maybe 3 films that I can remember that were big screen budget release. One of them was the Scorsese film, The Irishman.
Yep.
And then I think there were 2 others recently that were that. So Netflix is less concerned about making this a Hollywood theater, versus just letting it stream. So that's the one thing that works in their favor. And I think I've thrown this at you before, is that there's something that's transitioning, and COVID did help push it, but I think it was always getting there. People don't want to go to theaters anymore.
They don't.
People don't want to be next to strangers anymore. People just don't want that. They like being at home. They like the comfort of their family or by themselves, right? So that's the number one thing. So Netflix has already sold that niche market. The second thing is, for them to lease or borrow, it is no risk,
right?
Averse to Warner Brothers or DC, right? This is the whole thing. And what's going to stop it is going to be how much is Zaslav going to limit, and then how much is it going to be James Gunn? And I'm trying to remember in Safran's choice to what they don't want to get released.
Right.
So
because properties, right? Like, if Zack Snyder is going to bring out a character before James Gunn can, that he has big plans for, that could be a problem. So there would have to be limits. But, I mean, James Gunn said he's open to Zack Snyder doing something within his universe going forward. But Zack only wants to do a Batman movie, I think he said, or something like that. Like, he talked about the only movie he would do, but I don't know if that's going to be possible.
Which I still say, if you go back to Frank Miller's Batman, Ben Affleck was probably the best Batman on-screen version of any Batman to me.
I love him. I love him.
Any comic book version. So, I've been on record with that before. I mean, and look, to your point earlier about 3 hours of 3-hour running movie with the Justice League. Look, the Batman was 3 hours. So guess what, folks? If you sat through this, you could have. I think any of us who are gonna want to watch any sort of comic book film can do that. Hell, I feel like if you had just done The Watchmen for 3.5 to 4 hours, I would have watched that too.
For sure.
I've been waiting for a Watchmen follow-up because I think that's actually something that they should have been doing. They should have done that like 10 years ago.
The Watchmen's super underrated, bro. Like, no one really talks about that being one of the better superhero movies in general, but like it is. Like, Watchmen was a really good movie.
And it's the same mood, same setting as what Zack Snyder delivered to DC, for DC. So, there's a niche market there that people just aren't wanting to like some of these, and it's the execs. The execs just don't want to invest into that because they just think it's too adult and it's not kiddish. Right. So when you start limiting the age range, they feel like you're going to lose residuals on who's going to buy. But reality is, you're not. They're actually going to captivate a larger audience or a certain audience who's going to want to be more engaged with you. But that's execs. They run the numbers. I don't, so I let them in the real nerds run the stats. So
it's just wild, dude. Like, it's fascinating. I think Rebel Moon. So I went on a canceling binge. This is how you know Netflix is the king of stuff. So I was looking at it and I do pretty well for myself. Like, I don't have to cancel none of this shit, but I was like rebelling. I was like, you want to raise my price? Yeah, go fuck yourself, dude. I'm not doing none of that. So I went through. I said Netflix to cancel. I said Hulu to cancel. I said, what else? It was Netflix, Hulu, something else. Cause I have like everything, but I kept. No, I kept. It had already renewed. So when I went on the, it went up, dude. Disney Plus. When I signed up for Disney Plus, it's the same tangent, so I'm going to continue it. I signed up for Disney Plus, and I did a pre-order thing at the very beginning. Disney was promoting it. They said, buy 2 years, get one free. I got Danny on it. So I paid like, I don't know, I think it was $80 a year. So like $160, let's call it $200 for 3 years. So I haven't paid for Disney Plus since day one. Like I've never even remembered. So I don't know if they've done price increases every year because I wasn't paying attention. So then when my stuff renews, I'm sure they sent me an email. It's $140 a year, significantly higher than I was like, yo. So, but it had already renewed, and I didn't want to go through the cancellation process. So I was like, whatever. But there is a reason I think behind it. So we had Hulu, and my wife was pissed I canceled Hulu. She watches stuff on there. So I was like, whatever, we're canceling it. But now Disney, because they're losing money and they have like I don't know, couple $1 billion losses this year.
Yep.
They're integrating Hulu and Disney into the same app. And I already paid for a year of Disney. So when we logged on this week, Hulu was already on there. Like you can watch Hulu within the Disney app, and I don't pay for Hulu. So the price increase is probably to accommodate that. Like you're gonna get all of it together. And those that don't pay attention are gonna end up paying for both of them separately until you do pay attention. But yeah, it was $139.99 for a year, which is nuts.
Now, is this so? Now, are you getting Hulu with?
It's on the app. It's a tile on the app. You can. I don't know if it's an intro thing, but you can click on it. She watched Elf on there, like it's her favorite.
No interruptions.
No, I mean it was just on there.
Oh, so yeah.
So I was like,
I got to cancel my Hulu now.
So I don't know if that's by design or it's just like a tease, right? Like, hey, this is what the app's gonna look like, and then after a couple of weeks, they're like, oh, you have to increase your subscription to continue to watch this. But it doesn't say anything of that, and I haven't like researched it any. But she texted me because again, I was on the cancellation binge. She was like, "Did you cancel Hulu?" I was like, "Yep." She was like, "It's on Disney Plus right now," and I was like, "All right, well, let's see how long that lasts after a 80% increase to my yearly subscription."
Well, I'll tell you, it's painful because I mean, look, I got my Hulu, but like I got my nieces, my nephew, my sister-in-law, and I got like 2 other friends that use my Hulu. So I've got about like 8 different user accounts that are on this. And some of these cats, let me tell you right now, what's been driving me nuts is about the password reset. Hulu and Disney and ESPN. I'm not sure what they do, but the password reset is wicked. It's not a good thing either. When I say wicked, I mean occasionally I'm just like locked out, and they're just saying you got to log in. I'm like, what? And then I see something from like Chicago, and I'm like, oh man, these kids are crazy. And then I'll see all over the place. So from all over the Midwest to the East Coast. I'm like, you all need to get your act together. Stop logging my account out and messing up my Hulu. So yeah, this Hulu Disney Plus thing, I'm gonna have to work on this and figure this out because I got locked in off of Verizon. So
I think my brother gets it through Verizon too.
I get through Verizon. So that's the one reason I haven't touched it yet, because I was like, well, I'm getting the bundle through Verizon. Why are you gonna cancel it? And I was like, price hasn't changed that I have seen. So
everything went up though, dude. Like between $3 and $5. Like in a week, I got a message literally from like every streaming service. Peacock survived because it is a good value. When Peacock decided to add the WWE network to Peacock, I was already paying $10 a month for the WWE network. It was already, and I'm gonna always do that because it's cheaper than ordering pay-per-views when they had pay-per-views. So like, they integrated that into the app, didn't raise the price. So I was paying $10 for a while. Now it's like at $13, and she watches stuff on Peacock. Like that's where I watched that new show, Found or whatever, with the Zach Morris guy and black lady. So I watched that show on there. I'll occasionally watch other shit, but wrestling is why it exists. So I was like, whatever, we're keeping Peacock. We're super into wrestling. And then everything else was like, well, Hulu's going up, out of here. It went to like $18 a month, ad free or something. I was like, yep, see ya. So I was just on a big I was telling everyone too. I was like, I'm canceling everything. They ain't gonna keep getting me, because this was the risk when we talked about cable and wanting to pay for your content. Everyone wanted to pay for specific channels. Look at us now. Like cable is real close to being a better option. It just is it doesn't have as much content, but price wise, it is starting to feel like it's a better option.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like I never thought about cable having value again until now. So this is starting to drive me nuts, man. Speaking of something about why you got Peacock, did you ever get a chance to watch Wrestlers on Netflix?
So I started it. I watched 2 episodes. I'll slow roll it, but I'm interested. I'm interested in it.
Yeah, I think it'll pick up for you because it brought me back to being a kid. So, I don't get. I'm not engaged with the current wrestling, the state of wrestling. But I could talk to you about from 2002 all the way back to like the 1970s, man. And
Yeah.
so, speaking of that, did you watch the trailer for the
Iron
for the
Claw.
Vine? Yes, yes, for the
I
Vine
was about
Eric.
to tell you that. Yes, dude.
Yes, all
It
right,
looks good. Zac
man.
Efron looks unrecognizable.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Jeremy White. I mean, look, I remember watching, and so for the listeners out there, I don't know if any of y'all got into wrestling or even understand the roots of wrestling, but this is like the first family of wrestling. Without the Von Erich, wrestling would not be where it is today. So they're the ones that help push the narrative of storytelling, of togetherness, of using a unit in wrestling instead of a singular wrestler. They figured we fight as a family and nobody beats the Von Erichs, and that's how they always handled. So there's tragedy,
It's
there's
gonna be
love.
good. I
It's
mean,
great. Yeah.
A24 is diving into these stories now as a studio, like, and they've done semi-successfully in general, but it looks good. Like it looks really good. So I think one of the brothers or grandkids or something was like, it's mostly true. Like some
Mm-hmm.
obviously like every story told on film, it's not exactly how it happened, but um excited to check that out. I think it comes out soon. I might
Yeah.
already be out.
I think it's this coming weekend. I think it is because I
Yeah,
don't think that
December
they wanted.
22nd, the same day as Rebel
Okay.
Moon. So that might
Okay.
be a
So yeah.
big day. I'm off that day, so it might be go to the movies, watch a wrestling movie, come home and watch Rebel Moon and spend 7 hours of my day watching stuff. So we'll see how
Hey,
that plays out.
remember I told you I'll be in town, so hit me up if you want to go check it
Oh, we
out
should
together.
definitely do it. We should
Because
do it. Tell Danny.
I'm off work the 21st, so I'm off the 21st through the 26th. So
No, let's do
you
it.
know,
So Danny is texting me because we're heavy on playing cards. If you seen him on Facebook, like this
oh
man
man,
is
I saw
playing
you.
every single day.
I saw Jacob over there, man. I saw you going down to this house like last weekend, right?
Yep.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
we
Nice.
we play Lorcana. I've talked about that before on here. But he was texting me about the game because I have this deck I built. So one thing about me is I hate doing what the crowd is doing in general. Like if it's something that I'm interested in, I won't not do something because everyone's doing it in general for the most part. But like I pave my own path and people don't like me for that. It is what it is. But when it comes to card games and video games, there's always a meta, right? Like what everyone is doing. And you'll see that in Call of Duty, like because you can customize the weapons. Like everyone's using the same gun or the same series of guns because it's the best gun, right? Like somebody figured out it is the best time to kill, whatever. In card
For
games, that's a
sure.
lot more prevalent because not everyone can spend the time to design a deck that is cohesive and has multiple win opportunities. So typically, people will watch bigger tournaments and the top eight, like the top eight, you always see if you're into card game, top eight, top eight, top eight, top eight.
Okay.
So what ends up happening is people look at the top eight over a couple tournaments, and then they just copy those decks. Like I'm just gonna go spend the money, buy the cards. So when you go to tournaments, you end up playing against similar decks every time. I I hate that. I just can't do it. I have all the cards, enough cards. I have the money. I can buy whatever I need to buy to make one of those decks. And I'm good at the game, so I probably wouldn't lose if I used one for the most part, right? Unless I ran
Mm-hmm.
into a better skilled player, and I'm probably like in our area. I would say I'm at the top of the middle of the tier when it comes to skill. Like I lose to this one dude named Matt all the time. He's beat me like 4 times in a row. At bigger tournaments. I lose to these dudes that own the store called Warp, but they own the store. They play all the time. So skill
Oh
wise, they
yeah.
play Magic. Like you're a better skill player than me. So Alex has beaten me there. Quinn has beaten me. But when it comes to like, let's say, I mean, there's probably like 100 people in Southeast Wisconsin that are committed to the game. I'm probably like in the top 20 personally. I'd say because I play a lot of them throughout the course of the time, but they all
Okay.
use the same shit. So for me, I rather win with something that I build and people could copy my stuff. So I'm building this deck because it's Disney characters. I call it Lions, Tigers, and Bears. Oh my! So it's based
I like
around
the name.
Mufasa, Scar, which is a really crazy card. And I have Baloo in there as the bear. So I built out this whole deck and I need to play with it to see if it works, right? There's this online game, but it doesn't play the same because it tries to follow the rules, but it doesn't follow all the rules. Like you get to go first or second. It's kind of weird. So you have to play it in real life to see how it works. And I played Danny against it. So I put this deck together and we played yesterday at a store. And I think I only won one game. Like I lost to everybody. But I need to know, right? Because now
Yeah.
how does it play against certain decks? Is it too slow? Like, do I have enough inkable cards or like mana? And it turns out that I didn't because I got smoked. So I came home and I'm like redoing the whole deck or whatever. And I changed up a lot of stuff on it. So now I got to go back and try it again. But I feel good about the concept. I just got to figure out the synergy within it. So Danny was texting me about it. Like, how are you going to change it? So I took a picture of my phone with you on. He's like, what the hell are you doing with Wes? I was like, we're doing a podcast, bro. And I was like, you should just join us, here going forward. He was like, "Oh, I'd love to do that." So we'll probably have Danny on here shortly with us too,
Oh, perfect.
and just kind of
Um,
talk about that stuff.
now talk about like Lorcana real quick. Not so you go you got to try it out, right? I get it totally. That's the strategy you got to do. You got to put the deck together. So when you first put the deck together, I got some questions here.
Yeah, let's do it.
When you first put your deck together, how long does it take you to really put your deck together, and how do you and what's the when I because you don't need to give everything away, but like what's the typical way that you want to strategize your build? And then the second part of that is when you're done and you've tried it out and you see what worked, what didn't work, how much time do you go back and sort of retool the deck again? So
Yeah, so in card games, like if you a good deck typically is winning more than 50% of the time. Like if you're under 50% of the time, your deck is not good. Like it's just not. So
okay.
because a lot more goes into it, right? It's still a card game. You still have to draw. Like you're still at the
Mhm.
mercy of the draw. You can influence that by having cards that let you draw more, right? And try to do more. So for me personally, when I build them, it can't just have one win condition. And I think that's where this deck. So the deck that I'm building now is all about gaining. So Lorcana is a race. Different from other games. I don't have to battle you. I don't have to challenge you or fight you. I don't have to, I can completely ignore you if you're ignoring me. It's a race to 20 points.
Okay.
So it's Disney, right? They're trying to make it more kid friendly. But if you're beating me, I have to try to stall you from getting to 20 while I get to 20. So my deck is about, and typically if you challenge a character, you don't gain lore. You have to quest
Okay.
to gain lore. So Scar, Mufasa, like the way that the main win condition of this deck is when I challenge you and Shere Khan, I get a lore for challenging you. And I can also draw a card. So like that's the mechanic. The engine is I'm gonna keep wiping your board, and typically when I do that, I wouldn't gain lore, but the way that it's built, I do. So it's
Okay.
slower. It's about control. But that's basically the only win condition it had, and I typically don't do that. So I didn't. It's there's a new set that just came out, and I kind of oversaw it. Like I have a sapphire, which is blue, steel deck, which is gray, and I have like 2 to 3 outs on that. Like if one of my win conditions isn't working, I have another one, and if that's not working, there's a smaller third option that I can do. So typically at least two for me. Like if my scars aren't working, what else can I do to quest quickly? And that's what it was missing. So I went in and changed a couple of things to see what would happen.
Okay.
So it's pretty interesting. It's a simpler game. Like if you play Magic or
Mm-hmm.
Yu-Gi-Oh, like there's no instance in Lorcana. So on my turn, you can't do anything to stop me from doing what I need to do. Like it's
Okay.
your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. At least
Okay.
not yet, but we're on chapter 2. Chapter 3 comes out, or the next drop comes out in February, and they've added different mechanics throughout. So like now they're adding lands, which wasn't a thing in the first two in February. So that's going to change the dynamic of the game. And readily available now. Before you couldn't get any cards. I spent a shit ton of money trying to find cards. Now they flooded the market. Every game store got like a third release of Chapter 1. They all have plenty boxes. Target, Walmart has plenty stuff in stock. So if you did want to check it out, now's a really good time to be able to walk into any store and grab some packs, see if you like it.
Pretty dope. Yeah, I've seen a lot more Lorcana popping up out here in the South Bay of LA. So, I'm starting to see a little bit more of a scuttle around this. People are starting to talk about it. So I don't really get into the card role playing game too much. More traditional. I'm just an old school board game sort of guy. Yeah. So it's like I just like flat out just get into Monopoly and Risk. I like Risk and I like Monopoly and I like starting fights and with friends, and then and then we don't talk for like a month after, or just so those are my old school games. But no, I have my group of friends out here. Danny introduced them to me. He grew up with them. Man, they love MTG, so they're in Magic Gathering. And I was just talking to one of them last night, and I was asking her if she got into Lorcana, and she was thinking about it with the girls, with
so that's the key.
So
the kids are the key. So like the demographics are different on this game. So like it's Disney, man, so it's gonna appeal to everyone, even the collectors. But typically in like Magic, a lot of women don't play Magic. Like if you go to a Magic tournament, like a big one, it's like a lot, thousands of dudes, typically low 20s to 40 or so. Like there's a demographic for it, right? So like Yu-Gi-Oh, some women play, but smaller subset, but one of the more popular games. Lorcana has that same group of people, plus they have kids, like the Pokemon crowd, right? That's into Disney. Plus they have retired. I played a 60-year-old dude that's retired. I was looking to do something, and Disney's his thing, so he's playing that. So like it's just the scope is. I lost to a 9-year-old girl named Kaylee at a big tournament, who her dad and her uncle play. They're Magic players. They taught her how to play, and she knew every single card of set 2. And it was a pre-release event. Like anything that I played in sealed, she knew what it did, how it did it, and she was like really good. So it's a bigger audience, so it's gonna survive because it's Disney. But the family aspect, Danny's a great example of this. So I went down there and showed them how to play. So Jacob's kind of into it. John isn't as interested, and Lily isn't either, but Heidi's interested and she's learned how to play. So like now Danny, his wife, and his youngest play each other at home. His wife is going to events on Tuesdays at stores, which we never thought would be a thing. Like she has her own deck. Danny was late to a tournament yesterday we were at because he was playing Heidi at home. So like it's just one of those things where the family's gonna carry it, and if you have enough cards, you could just play it at home and get better and tweak, and then just show up once a week. Play at the store if you really wanted to, because there's prizes like everything else. Get more cards, get whatever. It's a fun game. I enjoy it. Saida plays it, but she refuses to go to the store to play it. She'll only play me. But that's one of those things. It's a cool thing. I got Danny into it because prior to this, I haven't been seeing Danny. I don't go to the Bucks games no more as much as I used to. And prior to telling him let's do Lorcana, I probably had gone like 5 or 6 months without seeing him, and I would see Danny every day, like over the last decade type shit. Yeah. So now that we're playing, like I see Danny twice a week, 3 times a week, but he's going to play almost every day, bro. He plays Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays. I think he's playing at 2 stores today. Like he's all the way in. So it's a cool thing to do.
He's pot committed. That's one thing about Danny, is that he doesn't do anything and not be pot committed with it, though. So he puts all his chips in. So that's dope, man. I'm glad. I did see the photo of he posted a photo the other day of him and Heidi playing. Yep. And it actually took me. I actually almost fell back out my chair. I was like, okay. And I said, now the entire Wynn family gets into it. But I figured that the kids, though, they're at that age. The older, I get it. They're at an age where they probably rather do other things. So, but no, that's pretty sick, man. Lorcana's picking up, so I'm glad you're having fun with it.
It's fun.
And it's funny you mentioned about the MTG. So I was in Vegas a couple months back. I was there with Danny. I think he told you about it.
Yep.
And that just happened to be the Magic convention and some tournament play then too at the same time. So saw some photos, saw some people walking around. Definitely an influx of people I knew were there for Magic that weekend, especially at the hotel. I was like, okay, I know what you're here for. But it's cool. It's cool though. I mean, you get to go to Vegas, and it's not always what it is. I mean, because sometimes it's just certain conventions, certain things. Sometimes it's just seasonal holidays, people getting away in the summertime. But now it's just, when you go there for a convention, you know what certain conventions are in town because you see the people there. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's me and Danny go all in on anything that we do for the most part. So, like, when we were playing another game called Hero Clicks, we went to the
Yep.
World Championships in Ohio. Like, we've gone to, or we've traveled, you know what I'm saying? So, as this game gets bigger and there's bigger, like, Midwesty things, I can see Danny and I making a couple of trips to test our might against other better players. Danny's behind on the curve. That's why he's playing so much because I've been playing since day one. Danny didn't play until like a month ago. So there are combinations and synergy. Like he has to think about it. Like I played him yesterday and he beat me, and he should have beat me significantly sooner. And I won't tell him in the game, but after, like, why did you do it this way? You could have done it this way. And it's just a product of you haven't played the deck that often. You're not playing as much. I've been playing it longer. So it's like everything, practice. So he needs to put in, the time with the deck that he wants to use so that it's second nature. Like when I play my cards, I know like what I want to do, how I want to do it, if, the next card, whatever. So, but Danny's always played Magic. Like we play a lot of stuff together. He'll get to that point where he's beating people. And unlike me, he doesn't give a shit about copying meta stuff. So he has like the top deck that won a recent tournament, and it's what Heidi's been using, and it's really good. It's a Steel Song deck, and it's super annoying. So we'll see how it goes. He just has to, like everything, one mistake costs you the game. Like you can't make, when you're playing a good person, like any game, like anything that's strategic, say chess, for example.
Absolutely.
You make one error, and if the other person is significantly better than you, that's the end of the game. And that's what happens to Danny right now. Like his skill level is probably middle of the pack because he's played other games, but one mistake and it's over for you. Like, so when we play each other, we talk through it when we're not at the store. Like, I wouldn't do that. Do this instead. Or here's the order of how I would do it. Right.
Okay.
So it's just those little things. It'll come though. I know you're not a big gamer, but staying within the gaming aspect, did you catch any of the game awards, any trailers?
I am a little pissed. I'm a little pissed. I'm the guy who's a little pissed on Spider-Man 2 not getting anything.
It had 8 nominations and didn't win anything. How is that possible?
This is ridiculous. I feel like we're in a self-corrective age of people who are just like, we're just gonna do things because we just feel like we want to send a message for no good reason. However, some of the other games that did win, look, I'm not gonna argue with that. From what I read, because I'm not huge into gaming anymore, but I still follow gaming almost like I'm still playing. Yeah. That's a problem for me. Because I think I get my satisfaction because I know if I did game now, I wouldn't get anything else done at home. So it's like,
it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to game and get this stuff done because I want to make videos and unboxings and podcasts. Like I can't play every day if I want to do those things. So I get it.
But yeah, but the games that did win, absolutely, they were deserving it. But still a little surprised that Spider-Man 2 didn't pull anything away. Where gaming is going right now, I'm not sure, man. It's I know they've got new engines coming out soon. And I think this probably be the award that will probably wrap until I think they really get some of the more advanced machines coming out from 24. So, I think right now we're at a pivotal point where they're either going to invest more into some. So the next season release of games, I can't feel that they're going to want to do anything for these consoles until they have it ready for the next one to take advantage of the advanced graphics and advanced gameplay. So it's tough. Q4 of any calendar year, probably the worst time to be thinking about where you're going to go with gaming because everything's going to transition again. So
it's crazy.
What are your thoughts on the?
It's so stacked. Like overall? It's hard. So the awards. So I don't like. I won't say I won't like them, but like if a game takes hundreds of hours of time, I just can't play it. I would like to, Like Starfield, for example, is a kind of choppy experience. I didn't have no delusions of that game winning game of the year because of everything that it is and isn't. But it's a fun experience if you're into like RPGs and doing stuff. And I dumped probably like 30, 40 hours into the game, and it's fun. And I can play it on an ally. I go back, but I didn't think that was gonna win. Spider-Man's a really good game. Like, it's a great game. The story's cool. It's a different story. Like Harry's Venom. The mechanics are fun. They built onto it. I feel like there's a missed opportunity in making it co-op because you go back and forth between the characters, and there's a lot of missions where you can do it together, Miles and Peter. But Baldur's Gate since the beginning had nothing but perfect scores. Everyone that ever played it was in awe of it. So I assumed Baldur's Gate would win Game of the Year. But it did. But to give you perspective, dude, like here are the Game of the Year contenders. Alan Wake 2.
Yep.
Baldur's Gate. Marvel Spider-Man 2. Resident Evil 4 Remake, which has no business being on this list. Super Mario Brothers Wonder, which is, dude, like Nintendo did it again. The game is so amazing. Like, I didn't think it would win Game of the Year, but if you're a Mario fan, y'all, and you don't have this game, you're missing out. And then Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, which, again, when it comes to like, there's different categories, but like when it comes to innovation, the game basically took a Minecraft mechanic and let you use your imagination to create whatever your imagination wanted you to be able to create with mechanisms and moving parts. You can create tanks and mechs, whatever you wanted within a Zelda game. And like the story was cool. It's just wild to me. Like Baldur's Gate must be legit one of the most best games ever created because no one's ever said anything bad about it. It's just nuts how good and basically a landslide that was. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. So when I saw Baldur's Gate show up there, something told me, I was like, well, I probably should have known this from the drop, right? The drop, people lost their minds. First of all, you couldn't even get it for a while. Like people were just out there just trying to get it, and then when they got on it, like they had some gameplay issues because there's just, there's so many people using it, and so it's just, but Baldur's Gate at the end of the day, I have friends here that got into it and they were, I didn't hear from them for like probably about a solid month.
Yeah, just immersed.
I'm no lie. It's like, hey, you guys want to go grab a bite? No, we got plans. They were too ashamed to say exactly what it was. But after I kept plugging, I said, "So why didn't we hang out last week?" Oh yeah, we're playing Baldur's Gate. I'm like, I got a friend, him and his wife both together, just sitting there next to each other playing ball. I'm like, what's going on here? So I'm like, you guys are nuts, man. But Alan Wake 2, I heard was like, that was phenomenal. So again, not being in the community but being around it enough. Trust me, I get it. I'm still trying to figure out though where they're going to go with this, because to me, I just see this. I see like there's a roadmap, and I still see that while it's PC and then there's console, I just feel like PC is always going to be there and it's going somewhere. But I feel like the consoles are going to have to end up getting narrowed down to one at some point.
I think so. Microsoft's strategy is it's a Game Pass. They tried to do that last gen, and it is the best value in gaming. At some point, Microsoft's vision here or their goal is to have the Game Pass on any device anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And they have a great relationship with Nintendo right now. By the next generation, whenever the Series X is done, Game Pass is going to be on Nintendo. Like, I will put money. If there was a betting odd on this, I'll put money on it. Sony's a little trickier because Sony views them as a direct competition still, and Sony's trying to stand up their own type of Game Pass. They just don't want to give anything away from free, because what differentiates them is their first party titles is what sells consoles. So like they're gonna get a ton of money. Xbox historically didn't have great first party titles for a while, so they include that in the Game Pass, and their purchases of Bethesda huge, right? Like all these gaming companies now you're going to have access to those games. Honestly, if they charge me $150 a year, $200 a year for Game Pass, I'd probably pay it, because if you buy the games individually every other month, it's going to add up to that anyways, and you have access to the rest of the library. It's just the best value. That being
You're
said,
right.
like it's gonna Sony will end up Nintendo will never go away. Like Microsoft has attempted to buy Nintendo, apparently. That's a thing too. Like, so
Oh,
if that were to happen, it would be just two. But Sony's not gonna go away. It's the PlayStation brand brings in Sony corporate. It's always their positive division. Like everything else is not usually great. So that I don't know. I think we're still a ways out for that, but it is where we're gonna go. Speaking to that, because it's funny you say that. So I'm gonna tie this into the Game Awards and then spin off into another thing. So I was never a Fortnite fan, like because I guess it's the most American thing ever. So when Fortnite first came out, it was a fort building game. You built forts to try to protect yourself from like kind of like these zombie things, like plant versus zombie type shit within a fort. That was the purpose of the game. PUBG comes out and has massive reactions. Like their DayZ was technically PUBG came out of DayZ. It was like a mod, and it was like the first big battle royale thing people were all into. It's a game mode. You drop in with nothing, you versus 100 people, or your squad versus 40 other squads. Let the best man win. You pick up what's on the ground. Let it happen. So that started popping off. So Fortnite devs or Epic was like, whoa, shit, this is popular. So they made their own version, and that's what we know as Fortnite today. So it was totally a copied, game mode. Like they just decided. But what's crazy about this is for Fortnite, over the last 6 or 7 years, they've added so many things and borrowed from other games. What they're trying to be Ready Player One. When you talk about one go-to place, this is what Fortnite has become. It is insane. Like when you launched a Fortnite game, they added zero build, which is why I play it now. But the properties, so you don't have to build. It's a traditional battle royale game, which that's what I want to play. So we play that. But at Epic, these folks have the rights to so much shit. Like you can get Marvel characters, DC characters, you can get The Witcher, anything gaming you can think of. The only thing not on Fortnite right now, like literally, are Nintendo characters. Everything else in that store revolves around anything pop culture or gaming related. It's basically my channel come to life. So like you launched a game, there's community maps, community games you can do. This week, the new season chapter, they call it, started. It launched with like an Eminem kind of like, it's not a concert, but like an Eminem intro. So the pop culture references in there as well. You got to see him like rap in his cartoon form for like Rap God, and he was this big Godzilla monster, yada yada. It was cool. But these dudes added a Lego game mode on there for free. All this shit is free. You only have to buy skins. It's free. So there's a Lego builder mode now where it's basically Minecraft with Lego fucking brand on it. And a lot of the Zelda mechanics when it came to like building with engines, it's all on there. So they like stole all this stuff.
Wow.
Dude, it launched and there's like 2 million people playing this game mode at any given time. When chapter 5 launched, there was 12 million people in a queue to watch that video and launch the next chapter of Fortnite. So
that's crazy.
Lego comes out as a game mode. The very next day, because Epic runs Rocket League, they launch another game mode called Rocket Racing with the Rocket League mechanics, except it's a race mode. So you just have different racetracks from easy to expert, with a rank mode, and it's a racing game with it is literally Ready Player One, bro. So all the skins you get and you've collected over the years, you still use those in the other game modes. They turned a lot of the skins you own into Lego skins, so your Lego character still has the skin that you had on your regular character. The cars you earn, you can customize, and your character's the driver. So like I play a lot. I'm an X-Men fan, so like my main person I've been using recently is Rogue. So Rogue is the driver of my car. And then, if that wasn't fucking enough, yesterday, they released another game mode. This was all kind of announced, so you knew it was coming, but This is as it has released this week. A game mode called Festival. And what Festival is? It's a rhythm game like Rockstar and Guitar Hero.
What?
And The Weeknd is the main person on it right now. So you can go buy Weeknd songs, Lady Gaga, old rock songs. And as of right now, use the controller, the keyboard to hit the rhythm as it comes out. But the devs of Rock Band said they're going to make their peripherals fucking compatible with this game. I literally, if I'm a kid, first off, for sure, but even me will launch Fortnite and not want to play anything else. There is nothing, you don't have to go anywhere else. And I say all of this because this is how ridiculous the Game Awards are. Best ongoing game. Awarded to the game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience every time. Here are the nominees. Apex Legends, Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy, Fortnite, and Genshin Impact. And Cyberpunk 2077 won this award, which they have. When this game came out, it was awful. It was one of the biggest flops of all time. So they have made the game better. But listen to me. There is no content on Earth right now that has better ongoing support or innovation than the guys at Epic and Fortnite. It makes absolutely zero sense. Why?
Oh, these awards are cooked. These awards are cooked. This thing is cooked. This thing has been cooked for a while, then, if that's the case. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. From what you just told me, that is ridiculous.
It's crazy, bro. Like, the Lego thing is nuts. You go on there's so many people. All the big streamers are playing the Lego thing. Because Fortnite's been out for 6 or 7 years. This is an old game. Like,
oh, absolutely.
They stay relevant because they add skins and newer pop. Like, you can get Stranger Things skin on there. You can't buy them at all points, but the store rotates every day, and then they give you different options, and it's always fresh. And they bring old stuff back that you might have missed or you never saw because you didn't play the game back then. But like, if I would have played Fortnite for the last 6 years, I'd probably have like $15,000 worth of skins and shit in this game. Because every time I open the game, I'm like, I want all of this shit. Like, it's the craziest thing ever.
That's wild. So yeah, so I never got into Fortnite because that was right about the time I pretty much put down my controller. But you know, when I would go over to people's houses and Fortnite's on, like literally for forever, that first year. That's all I saw people on there when I would walk in. I'm like, Fortnite. I'm like, is this really just that good? And I mean, and somebody would put down a controller, they'd come over and we'd hang out, drink, talk, whatever, eat. And then somebody else in the house would come up, pick up the controller, start playing their character. I was just like, are you crazy? It was almost like they're waiting for somebody else to be done for their next hour or so session. And that's how I knew Fortnite was bringing something to the table that I had not experienced in my previous first-person shooter experiences when I got out, you know. So, and that's why, you know, Fortnite clearly has had a grip, like some sort of a chokehold on people, on their audience, but they provided it because that's what the people are wanting. This is what keeps them coming back. So for an award show to be that much out of touch, again, goes back to why I don't follow award shows very often. I follow just a little bit, but not much. This confirms to me the people doing the award shows are cooked, and it's always in one slanted perspective view. So unfortunately, it's about who's contributing to the awards, not so much about who's actually worthy of the award. So that's my rant for you. So
it's crazy.
Yeah,
we're like, me and Ray are super in on Fortnite right now. He's posting videos on a TikTok channel. If you guys check that out, it's just, not only is it consistent and the skins are cool and you have multiple game modes now, but it is the smoothest of the gameplays as well. So like, whoever at Epic 6 years ago, 7 years ago, when this game came out as a fort building game, was like, yo, let's pivot. I mean, he deserves an award for that, or the group of people deserve to like own Epic at this point. Because the amount of money, the cheapest skin is like, you have to buy like $10 of V-Bucks. And they have bundles that are all the way up to like $40. And every time I go on there, bro, I'm buying something. Like every day I look, I'm like, I need this, I need that. They have they call it Fortnite crew. It costs $12 a month. You can subscribe to this, which I do. Every month you get a skin that has multiple other skins. You get the season pass, which is going to cost you $10 anyway, so you're going to buy that regardless. You get V-Bucks, like 1,000 V-Bucks, which means you got it for free. Then in the season pass, you can earn V-Bucks and extra like original skins on there as well. Oh, and wow. Now, being a part of the Fortnite crew, because of these other game modes, you also get cars for the racing mode, songs for the other. Like it's just insane, bro. Like they literally want you to only spend money there, and it's working. Like I own the only other game I'm playing right now is 2K because I like sports and we have a group of friends that have 5 characters, so we all play together. But outside of that, Fortnite has taken over our world, and it's absolutely insane to me because we weren't into it. Like we were never into it. It's crazy. My brother doesn't play video games, not his thing. He's always had a Switch, and he would randomly pick it up as I bought it for him for Christmas, and he would play Fortnite on there. Oh, because on top of all of that, Wes, it's crossplay. You can play it on any of the consoles. You can play on a computer. You can play against each other. Like my brother played on the Switch. I play on PC. Ray plays on the Xbox. My buddy Zach plays on a PlayStation. We all play together. So on top of all of that, it is completely crossplay. And not just crossplay. The store is cross. Any skin I have is in the ecosystem. So I can turn on my PlayStation and I still have all my stats, all my skin, all my V-Bucks. I can turn on the Switch. I still have all of that. Come down here on the computer, still have all of that. It's nuts, dog. It's nuts.
So with Epic Games obviously driving all this, what is their story? I mean, they've got to have some sort of vision, some sort of story with how all this is driving not only their content as they continue to evolve, but also their experiences that led them to get to this point. Because that's the thing that intrigues me. So what you tell me right now, because I'm not a gamer, but what I respect is the vision behind the folks putting this content together, because that to me tells me that they've already been burned as a consumer too many times, and they felt as though it was time to approach these companies with a game that can actually transcend past the limits of each console and or can PC, but to be able to deliver the experience to consumers that they've always felt that they never got. So, that story right there alone, I think almost, let me do a biopic.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, there's going to be a documentary. There's going to be, because, dude, like, if that's the future, if Ready Player One, if you've never watched that movie read the book, you should definitely go watch this thing. It's literally, Fortnite is a decade away from this being what that is. At this point, because there's no lobby, like there's no main world where you can go into and connect to the other worlds. It's just like you click on a game mode and it takes you into that portal. Within the next few years, there's going to be like this open world everyone can kind of just hang out in, and then you go into separate rooms to play whatever game mode you have. And if that happens, we are literally in Ready Player One. Someone at Epic saw or read this book and was like, we need to do that. And it's a far thing to say. I say I need to do shit all the time, but to execute on it to this level. And dude, again, we weren't even Fortnite fans. I didn't play the game. And years ago, I told my brother, because that's the only game he plays. It's like his favorite thing. I was like, on the off chance that this thing does become Ready Player One, I want to have skins. This is how much influence they have. I would log into the game, buy a skin that my brother showed me, and log off and never play the game again. Because on the off chance that this shit does become that, I'm not going to be starting in square one with skins and characters. I just didn't want it to be that. So I was like, if that happens, I want to have my Marvel skins, DC skins. I have some Star Wars stuff, anime. Right now in the store, they have a bundle and separate emotes and shit for My Hero Academia. You can get
Oh
All Might
wow.
and all of the students and Shoto. Dude, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. If
Like
Nintendo gives in, because this week the CEO of Epic admitted they've been on Nintendo's ass to let them put Nintendo properties in Fortnite. And the answer has still been no. If they allow that to happen, I mean, everything's there. It's nuts.
yeah, that I mean, and that pretty much goes into when I was on the show the last time, and I had mentioned, the idea about, if Nintendo really wanted to get into slightly more adultish
Right.
would have been like almost a first person or a third person game in that view, and that puts them right into that. Something you just touched on, but I think to bring this up quickly though is that vision with Epic and how that's going to transcend to other games that are going to span, and also the reverse compatibility, right? So let's think about like what was the last gen that's going to be allowed to be shared across this big world.
Right.
And you're talking about 10 years from now, right? And then to not be so exclusive to just current gen modules, but then previous gens too, and those engines. So allowing users to be able to utilize, I don't know, maybe say like the last 5 Xboxes, just a great example, with the same thing as the last 5 Sonys, PlayStations, that example, as well as PCs. So I think that having that vision and using that playability, and one of the things would be is that you see somebody who's on a previously slower graphic system, that engine alone, you can still see them. You'll see
Right.
them in that same area, and you'll be like, you need an upgrade. You can
Yeah.
make jokes like that. It's like, hey man, it looks a little pixelated to me.
And
Stuff
I
like
mean,
that. So
again, not to beat the dead horse, but that's what Ready Player One is, right?
that's
Like
what I'm
you
saying.
would get to a point where like you need to upgrade, and then they would like, oh, let me buy these credits. The amount of money Epic makes on V-Bucks is utterly insane, to the point
Mm.
that you can go in. This is how confident they are in their product. You can go into the store and request a refund on your last 3 purchases, and they just give it back to you, no questions asked.
No, wait, what?
Yeah, bro. It's crazy. Like that's how confident and how much money's rolling in. I can go in there right now, and the last 3 purchases I made on skins say I don't want them no more. They'll refund you the V-Bucks and you can use it on other things if you wanted to. It
Wow,
is
so
nuts.
like 5,000 V-Bucks runs me about $37.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, it takes me back to just when I got off the console, Xbox in at 360 days was, I think that I feel like you didn't get anywhere close to that sort of value. But again, I don't know how many V-Bucks is used on an average, right? So per
Dude,
purchase.
I mean,
So
for an adult that has a job and has spending money, I'm like, I mean, me and Ray buy a lot of fucking skins. And that was before this week, where now I'm playing the racing mode and I'm doing ranked on there, and my car is like the generic Rocket League car, and I go to the store and there's like a Lamborghini for 4,000 V-Bucks, and it's all cosmetic because the car doesn't go any faster, but I'm like, I feel like I need a car skin now. So not only am I getting character skins, now they're about to get me, and Ray went on there because the music thing's gonna be big, bro. Like if they have peripherals, when I first started talking to my wife, we spent countless hours as a group. It was me, her, my cousin, our roommates, their other friends, and we would have like rock band nights. We had the drums, the guitar, the bass, somebody was singing. There would be 4 or 5 hours where we're drinking and just doing that as adults. So when this game came out yesterday, I was like, babe, look what's on here. And she's like, yeah, right. And the game is free, so the money's gonna come from you buying the tracks. So you're gonna have to buy the music. So
oh
there,
man,
so Ray went on there yesterday, bought a fucking the weekend bundle. It came with like a skin for your character to play Fortnite as the weekend, a guitar skin for your guitars, a bass skin for your bass, 3 songs, a mask. Like it's crazy, dude. It's absolutely crazy. But
that's dope.
on that note, I think this has been another successful episode. Wes, I appreciate you stopping by, man. Whenever you want to be on here, let me know. You're more than welcome every Sunday if you want. We record these on Sundays, by the way.
All right.
So in the future, Danny will stop by. Wes will probably be on that day too, or every Sunday going forward if he has time.
Yeah.
Ray will pop in. I just texted him because full disclosure, me and Ray always got into conversations because I always try to keep the podcast within a certain amount of time, unless the conversation is flowing like it did today. And he would want to do like a 4-hour Joe Rogan podcast. And I'm like, bro, there's no way we're doing that. So I texted him while we're on here. And I was like, me and Wes just are having the longest podcast ever. You should be on here. He's like, bro, you're killing me. So as we kind of go on and more people are added, this will evolve. But I think this was awesome, man. I appreciate you stopping by.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate you and Ray being able to have this forum to be able to invite me on. And I look forward to every opportunity going forward, man. Just keep me plugged in. We'll continue to talk.
Sweet. Well, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, make sure you follow our channel so you get the latest updates on listening to the podcast. And also check out our YouTube shorts and our TikToks. Ray posts a lot of, at this moment in time, Fortnite content of killing things and skins. But we'll have a lot more stuff on there for you guys. Stay nerdy. See ya.